On Thursday, December 12, 1985, a toddler was spotted walking alone in a Kmart in Spanaway, Washington, with no parent or guardian in sight. So eventually, when the cops showed up and she had to talk to them, they were trying to help her find her mom, but all she could tell them was, "Mommy is in the trees." So eventually, they ended up putting a photo in the newspapers, and the little girl was soon recognized as Crystal by her grandmother. Her grandmother was Elise Conrad, who took her into her care, but she said that Crystal was shaken up and disturbed, maybe from something that she saw. So where was she? Well, about 2 months later, the body was found. Diana Robertson, Crystal's mom, she was found in the forest deep in Elby, Washington, with 17 stab wounds and a tube sock tied around her neck. So nearby, they found an abandoned 1982 Plymouth covered in blood all over the dashboard and seats, with a note on the dash that simply said, "I love you, Diana." The truck belonged to her partner, Mike Reamer. He was a trapper and an outdoorsman who spent a lot of time in these woods. So where was Mike? Well, he was nowhere to be found, but they believe that he was responsible for the murders at first, because just 2 months prior to that, on October 19th, 1985, he'd been arrested and cited for domestic assault and malicious damage after he kicked her door in, ended up going into her apartment, throwing her around and rubbing her face on the carpet. They also connected her murder to a double murder that had occurred in the same woods 4 months earlier. There was a man, Stephen Harkins. He was found shot to death in his sleeping bag. His companion and partner, Ruth Cooper, was actually found strangled 2 months later, but they both had tube socks tied around their neck. So was Mike a serial killer? He'd been in the woods at the very time that this happened, and he certainly knew how to navigate the terrain. But with no trace of him, there was no way to tell for certain. But here's something. Over 20 years later, on March 26, 2011, a hiker discovered a partial human skull in the woods off of State 7 in Lewis, which is in Mineral, Washington, just about a mile from where Diana's body was found. When they ended up doing an analysis, they found out that it was Mike and that he'd likely been a homicide victim himself. So 4 murders in the same exact woods by an unknown person, but the question remains, how did Crystal find herself in a Kmart 30 miles away? You know, she might have been driven somewhere and then dropped off, presumably by the serial killer. She must have spent a silent drive, 45 minutes in the car with the person who killed her parents, with no memory of the event. So what do you think happened? I would love to hear everyone's theories down in the comments below.